Hello Cancer, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs. Welcome to your tarot reading for the month of November. Please come into this tarot reading with an open heart and an open mind, a desire to maybe learn something or better yourself. If the messages that come through don't resonate for you, that's totally fine. Feel free to push them aside. You may want to revisit them at a later date or time. You are accountable and responsible for all your own actions and decisions. This is, of course, optional advice, guidance, and energy check-in. So all that being said, let's try and have some fun and get you some helpful, insightful messages here. Particularly for this November reading on my channel, highly encourage you to check your rising sign because I am going to be including a little drips of astrology here. So if you're down for that, cool. You're welcome to watch this for your sun sign, but particularly check out your rising sign. All right, let's do it, Cancers. So coming up in your first house here, which is about your identity and how you're sort of presenting yourself this month, you're a little bit guarded. Interesting. With the Nine of Wands, it's sometimes what we refer to as the Wounded Warrior card. I don't know if it's guarded or apprehensive. I see you being very on the fence to get involved in some sort of collaboration or join some sort of team. And I almost think with these cards coming up in the 12th house is sort of like our fears, our self-undoing, our self-sabotage. There's this fear of not being good enough, even on maybe a subconscious level, or also feeling like you're too different. It's like these people already know each other, they already get along, I'm gonna be the new person in the bunch, and it's gonna be weird for me. I'm just sort of getting that idea of feeling like the outsider with kind of this Hermit card and Strength. It's like you may be joining some team or some collaboration or circle of friends, a community, where you're the newbie and there's already these established relationships. And so as much as you want to be a part of that, Cancer, this is kind of sad. As much as you want to be a part of that, there's a part of you that believes like it's just not going to work. And so for some of you, it's like you're not even sure you want to try it. I'm immediately going to contradict that and say that you absolutely should. Don't lean into your fears. Odds are if something scares you, it's very likely something that the universe wants you to pursue and ultimately sort of, slay that dragon that you have carrying around so that it doesn't become a burden to you anymore. It's going to be good skills and good practice for you to go out and sell yourself and mingle with people. And you might just find some soulmates in that connection that weren't in your life before. So don't deny yourself the opportunity to do something simply because it spawns fear in you. I think that's really important to note. There could be a Virgo or a Leo who's sort of coming out of the woodworks. I don't know if you already know who this person is, or it's someone maybe you haven't been introduced to yet. But with the full moon in Gemini, there's going to be sort of a spotlight maybe on those two zodiac signs where they come into your life in some capacity or another. And it may have to do with work and service with kind of the Virgo card coming through, or some sort of creative collaboration, just putting it out there. So there's going to be a full moon in Gemini. So it is sort of going to highlight areas of our life that we maybe prefer to keep in the darkness and not look at and not acknowledge. Our 12th house has a lot to do with, again, our own self-undoing, or things that, I guess you could say, our blind spots, things that we're not particularly good at seeing in ourselves, but ultimately can be the cause of a lot of stress and unneeded drama in our life if we were only, willing to sort of do the spiritual work tied to it. And I say spiritual work because that really is sort of what the 12th house is representing. It's not always the easiest thing to deal with, but with the full moon there, it's illuminating things that maybe you didn't see about yourself before. And also sort of illuminating some quote unquote spiritual work you need to do in order to accomplish greater things. And there's very much a Piscean Neptune theme to this full moon. And Neptune being the planet of spirituality, of our dreams, our creativity. It's kind of like this softer, dreamier energy that it's hard to quantify. It's hard to define. It's a little more loosey-goosey. And so there may be something you need to change about very rigid beliefs that are keeping you stuck, and sort of embrace the unknown. Embrace moving towards things that bring you fear, knowing that you don't know everything, right? And there is this need to sort of detach and immerse yourselves in things that are going to bring you pleasure, as long as it's not self-destructive, right? Almost as a means of obtaining greater knowledge on your path. I know that's a little bit vague, but for some of you, hopefully that speaks to some of you, and that may make more sense in the future. All right, moving on. So you have a nice little transit of Venus that's going to be helping you out in terms of your home and family life, your roots. Anytime we have a Venus transit, there's a need and a pleasure and an enjoyment factor in connecting with others. So if things have been rocky in a family dynamic, or something in the home has just not been working, there may be sort of a freshening up and bringing some creativity to those relationships in that place, that area. You might quite literally be doing creative projects. You might be painting, designing, reorganizing, something to make it more enjoyable. There's sort of a luxury element to Venus too. So you might be spending more money on the home to make it more in alignment with your quote unquote dream home, even if that's just like a tiny step or a tiny thing. Again, more amicable, pleasing, kind, compassionate relationships coming through. And okay, there might be some bigger questions raised in terms of quote unquote like how we want to grow, or what we want our family and our home, our house to look like. So there may be the topic of conversations of assessment, especially in terms of money, things to do with money in the household. And also maybe what you're wanting to spend money on to improve the house. Yeah. I see restructuring and reordering, cleaning out, organizing, especially with the Seven of Cups, and sort of needing to ask yourself how you feel about certain things. And when Venus conjuncts your South Node, there is a need to release something and let go of it. And it might be something that you are a little bit sentimental about, or something that is near and dear to you, but ultimately there's something that you're holding on to that has essentially run its course. And so there is an understanding that it is time to release and it is time to let go. Because we can't hold on to everything. Ultimately, if we do, we're denying ourselves the room to grow in other areas, and obtain more, make space for new things and new adventures, and who knows, new family members maybe. You do have Mars moving through your 5th house, so there could be increased sexual activity or sex drive. The new moon will also be happening in Scorpio, again, your house of dating, pleasure, romance, fun, hobbies, creativity. So there could be just a lot more drive and enthusiasm to do things that bring you pleasure. And a huge focus on the start of a new relationship. So even if you're already in one, symbolically, this could mean that you're sort of hitting reset and maybe visiting a relationship in order to bring it to new territories, let's say, with your 6 of Swords here. It's possible that you may end up connecting with someone dating-wise who lives at a bit of a distance, or if you go on some sort of trip, or vacation, you may meet someone in that capacity. I know that sounds a little bit like fairy tale, but hey, it happens. It happens all the time. So, you might meet someone on vacation or through a sibling. I'm not sure why I'm getting that, but I am. So there is going to be a need for reform and change up and taking the path less traveled or the road less traveled in terms of some sort of creative endeavor. You might be feeling really inspired and hit some sort of obstacle or roadblock that completely changes the trajectory of your destination, so to say. Be open and be flexible to that, because ultimately it is making room for more creative freedom and ultimately it's aligning you to where you're supposed to go in the future with this quote unquote creative project. But with that, you may feel a little bit like, well, I didn't see that coming and now I'm a little bit lost. Embrace that confusion and move through it as best you can, not being married to any certain results. It's almost like you kind of have to go where you're being nudged or pushed and follow that inspiration, that intuition, that creativity, because there's a door that's opening for you, but it's not the door you thought you were headed through, if that makes sense. I know it's a little bit meta. There could also be a big argument or confrontation with a child where someone really expresses themselves in an intense way, possibly some anger, some confrontation, some fighting, some bickering. And it's ultimately asking for more freedom in a relationship. So if someone is too overprotective or overbearing or smothering. There's a child, and maybe this is you, maybe you're the child Cancer, even if you are a full-fledged adult, but it could be with your child that they're sort of demanding more freedom and more space. That wouldn't surprise me, right? Cancer parents can be a little bit clingy at times, right? Because you love your family, your tribe, your posse, right? You want to protect them and you do anything to protect them. But ultimately, are you denying them their own freedom to go down their own path? That's a question I would ask. Some of you may have empty nest syndrome. Your children may be going off to college or off to school or moving states, moving countries. That might not be forever, but again, there might kind of be this like, oh wow, this is really going to shake things up and change things in the family dynamic. And you're right, but it doesn't have to be for the better, or I'm sorry, for the worse. There's very likely something new and positive that comes from this. So again, embrace sort of that not knowing the exact outcome and go with it as best you can. And I know that's hard. Cancer is a sign that likes to have a certain amount of control, right? And that could be with a partner too. There may also be a fight or an argument or a confrontation in a friends group after some unexpected news is shared, possibly about, and it might not even be an argument or a confrontation, but sort of a symbolic ending because someone announces that they're leaving to go down a different path. So similar to what we said with like a storyline with the child, it could be that a friend of yours is moving states or moving houses, moving homes, moving out of their job or career to embrace something new, and it may put your friendship at a distance. So it's not necessarily that the love and likability and energy for friendship isn't there. It just, there's like a wedge there because of something that has come about unexpectedly. So there could be a collaboration with a friend or a trip that you were planning with a friend that gets canceled, very likely because there's unexpected news on their end that is impacting your plans to move forward with them. It could even be something with a future roommate or someone you were hoping to move in with, not so much on a romantic level though. If you were looking to, I don't know, either a vacation or move in with a friend or something like that, I would expect the unexpected there because something isn't going to go to plan. With Jupiter energy, it's reminding you have to have faith that this is for your best and highest good, even if you don't see it in the moment. Let's see. So there's going to be a lovely connection with Venus and Pluto. So yeah, something double confirmation of something coming back up from the past. Possibly in terms of a family dynamic or something with a house that you're going to enjoy, or you're going to again breathe air into this old hobby or this old something you used to do that is maybe very familiar and very fun, and you're kind of like dipping your toe back into it. It could be something musical, something creative, something you used to do with family. There could also be a chance of, hold on, let me look at this. A conversation that is revisited where maybe you didn't have a lot of clarity, and it does more or less involve you making an important choice of some kind in terms of how you're going to navigate your future. There may be someone from your past who can help guide you in this decision, or there may be a connection through a family friend, or I'm not exactly sure what this is. I see you narrowing your focus more in a good way. If you felt too scattershot or scatterbrained, or you had too many options and you're needing to make a choice, if that has been an ongoing issue, that situation is going to be transformed in a very positive way where you feel more confident and comfortable making a decision and moving forward with it. It's not life or death. It's not high stakes. It's something that is requiring change and transformation. And I think maybe you were just really stuck and feeling overwhelmed of making the wrong choice. You're not going to make the wrong choice because it will be so clear and abundant to you how you want to go with this in the next few weeks. So that's a very positive message. I hope I relate it as such. Let's see. So there could be, let's see. There's going to be a lot more action again in fun and pleasure and hobbies, which is wonderful. You're going to be making positive strides and movement forward in personal projects and things that bring you joy and allow you to flex your creative muscle. You might plan a trip with your child that could be, very enjoyable, very fun. Again, don't get too there's a good word for this and it's just not coming to me. Don't be married to an outcome because things may need to change and fluctuate a little bit. But yeah, that being said, there could be a lot of, I'm almost getting this idea of sort of a mother-daughter getaway, but you could put that in context of something that would make sense for you. You know, maybe it's your son, maybe it's your father, whatever. But sort of this, like a little getaway that's very cathartic in ways where people are able to express themselves in a way where they weren't willing to previously, and maybe some tears are shed, but it's like it's either happy tears or this emotional release that was very necessary and needed. I don't see it as hurt feelings. I see it as someone being able to communicate in a way that they weren't comfortable or able to before, and so it gives you some insight into this person and vice versa. Someone kind of bears their soul a little bit, and it seems like a nice opportunity to connect with someone in a more deeper, intimate way. And I mean that it's possible that may translate for you in a dating relationship of sorts. As we move into Sagittarius season, there's going to be far more focus on planning things in your daily routine better, getting some sort of system or organization down, some new beginning in a health routine, a fitness routine, your diet. You could be making more medical appointments or planning things of that sort. With Page of Swords, there's like a lot of scheduling, there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of planning. I'm not necessarily sure there's the experiencing of it yet, but it's almost like you're working towards some sort of important, it's almost like you're planning something. So you're working towards some important goal, and you're chiseling it off a little bit at a time. I hope that makes sense. You may be connecting with a mentor. Then let's see. You may be connecting with mentors or teachers or just seeking more guidance and advice about particular, I'm going to say sticking points in your life, things that are causing you aggravation. And there might be a need to go back on your word, or really more the idea of like changing your mind, being a little bit more open-minded about how you're going to approach this thing or these things, these items. You may have some unrealistic expectations. Sagittarius, it wants to do everything all at once and it wants it to be the best ever. And unfortunately, that's not always how life works, right? So we may have to make some sort of compromise or negotiation. It doesn't mean you can't accomplish what you're trying to accomplish here, but it might not be at the speed that you want it to, especially with Saturn coming into the play here. There might be a little bit more, funny, like quite literally bed rest. There might be something that keeps you a little bit stuck and not able to move forward at the rate and pace which you want to. Maybe you start this new exercise plan and you're running on the treadmill every day and then you sprain your ankle. Like it could be something like that. Especially with Mars energy coming through, we have to remember to like breathe a little bit and take things in stride. Mars always wants to turn the heat up, turn the volume up, turn the pace up. And in Sagittarius, which is also a fire sign, there can be that too much too soon, or that really ambitious but almost over-eager energy where it may actually end up being more of a hassle and a burden in the long run versus if you had just done it right, if you had just put in more time and I don't know if effort is the right word, but allow this to grow properly rather than trying to rush the process to achieve your goals, especially your health goals too. I will say that. With Mercury moving through here and the Page of Swords, there could be some very pleasing conversations that you're having with coworkers. You may make new friends. We did talk about this idea of the fear of joining a group. So for some of you, it might be joining a new job and just not feeling like these people, which, you probably don't. But I don't know, with Leo energy there's a lot of warmth coming through, and don't underestimate yourself, Cancer. You have something to offer these people and vice versa. There's something they can offer to you. So don't judge a book by its cover. A lower energy of the Page of Swords can be someone very judgmental and someone very, making quick assumptions about things without the full knowledge behind it or the full experience behind it. So it's okay that you're a little bit naive and unfamiliar with this territory. But, be enthusiastic, be warm, the Sagittarian energy, be open-minded, because you have a lot to learn from this with like the Hermit energy coming through. Right smack in the middle of your spread, you have your own card. So a fellow Cancerian could play an important role in your life, possibly in dating. But it might also just be saying step into your power as a Cancerian, right? Honor your feelings and your intuitions, but don't let those trip you up in terms of needing to accomplish things. And the Chariot is a card of tenacity and moving forward and embracing, your past, your roots, the home you came from, but understanding that that's not necessarily the ultimate goal, right? It's taking what you know and what you grew up with and making yourself out in the world to serve others, maybe in a capacity that is where you're establishing family out in the world, right? Family isn't always by blood. Finding your people. And the way you do that is immersing yourself in new situations where you're able to meet new people and make those strong, lasting connections that are very emotionally fulfilling. Yeah, unexpected news with friends is definitely coming into the picture and highlighting something that may affect you either on a larger scale, again, in terms of your home or living, and maybe it's something positive, right? But for others of you, there could be this sort of conflict of I was relying on this person to do this thing and it affected me this way, and now this has completely changed. So it's almost like back to square one. And I don't know, there might be an issue with trust because of this situation. You may have invested in something or someone, even if it's just like sort of emotional investment. But it is a good lesson, that ultimately you have yourself to depend on and people are going to come and go in your life. And so I don't need to tell you this, Cancer, but it's always good to have a plan B. Because things are building and they are growing and they are developing, but sometimes we get shaken up and we're forced to sort of go an alternate way, choose an alternate path, and that's okay. So again, this idea of don't be married to the results, especially for a lot of my Cancer risings with kind of Neptune sort of in your house of career or education, long-term plans. There's just this idea that it's really hard to set things in stone right now. Because the future is just kind of this clouded, foggy idea of what could be. And so you're not being held accountable to make these executive decisions that are going to be set in stone, because that's just not what the universe is offering you right now. So it is about being in the present, staying in the moment, and making choices that are right for you now. Yes, think about your long-term goals, but ultimately I almost feel like there's a really big pull to look at your health and your daily routine and how we can, I hear the word mimic, I don't know why mimic, how we can be a little bit more flexible and adaptable to taking care of ourselves first so that we can go out in the world and kick ass, that we can be a good romantic partner, that we can be a great, contributing family member. There is a lot more kind of personal focus, I think. There could be an Aquarius or a Pisces that may potentially present as a romantic prospect in the coming month or so. I see a lot of chatting and a lot of like flirting, but I also sense, I don't know if it's suspicion or trust issues or guardedness or just kind of this, I don't know if this is the right fit for me. I'm still sort of on the fence. That's sort of what I see with those relationships. But again, you have no reason to go out and try because, there are planets moving through your fifth house. And so connecting with people in either a creative capacity or a romantic capacity, there's the potential for something to inspire you, and maybe it doesn't turn into something romantic immediately, but it might be something with judgment that you end up going back to being like, oh, okay, this is a good fit for me now. You never know, Cancer, so be open-minded. All right, guys, that's what I got for you. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and I will see you very soon for more tarot. Bye.